Good morning, everybody. I am so delighted to be here. My name is Dr. Betsy Guerra, and I am a wife, a mom of four, and above all, a woman of faith. I am also the chosen mother of an angel, which is why you're listening to me today. Because I didn't just study grief and how to overcome it, I am a testament of hope, and I am an example of what is possible when you have faith. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. It's not just about faith in God, it's also about faith in yourself, in your ability to do hard things and things that you never imagined were possible. And it's faith in the process, in the journey. It's faith in all these things that are really hard to see when you're in the middle of the excruciating pain. But faith is also a method. It's the method I created after having been a psychologist for 20 years and being able to support a lot of people who have experienced grief, including myself. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the faith method and the importance of having that in your lives as you strive to overcome your grief, as you strive to move forward, get unstuck from where you're at, and continue to love and honor the person you lost, because grief grief is not greater than love. Love supersedes and transcends death. It transcends everything. Love is the most powerful thing that we have, and it's a gift. So before we start, I would like to share a video of my story with you so that you have an idea of who I am and why would I listen to this Betsy girl? Because I don't believe that education and empowers you with the credibility or the ability to truly know what you're talking about. I think it's more your story. And all of you are creating and writing a story. And it may be one that doesn't feel that good, but what we're going to do today is going to help you decide what your next chapter is going to be and how your story is going to evolve. And we want to make sure that we get to the glory, we don't just stay in the story. So allow me to share my screen and show you a little bit of my story. Can you see my video? How do I know? Okay, I hope this is working.
Our life was a fairy tale. We had the two princesses, the little prince,
we had that little picnic table and we'd always sit in front of the TV, and that's how I memorized my left and right because I always sat on the left. Really? Yeah. We had like the perfect family, the perfect life. There was so much love.
Weekends were barbecues, pool, trips to Disney, trips to the beach.
Alain would dance with me, with the girls. We have a video in which he's dancing with Fofi, and you came because you wanted to be with him. And Fofi was like, Mio, Mio! Like go away, he's mine.
I remember taking pictures in the barbecue. One time I came and I saw her in the deep playing with some other kids. And I said, be careful with Fofi. She doesn't know how to swim too good. So in my mind, I keep on saying, if I knew it, I would take her out of the pool. That's the last time I saw her.
It has been the most painful day of my life.
To this day, I don't know what happened or how it happened. I know that I was talking to Christy, and then suddenly she says, "Where's Fofi?" And I couldn't see her. And then I realized she was right next to me. But at the bottom, we got to the hospital and we were in a small room. And at some point, I see the monitor, and there's like a line, like a straight line. Like, does that mean she's like not like no pulse anymore? So I was like, make her heart beat, make her heart beat. And that was my prayer, like, God, make her heart beat. Please make her heart beat. And he didn't. He didn't make her heart beat. The next day, there was a lot of people here, and the priest that baptized all three kids came to visit, and he went into the walk-in closet and sat down with us on the floor. And as we're there, Alain is asking, is it possible to be happy again? And he said, some people are, and some people are never happy again. The people that are never happy again, they think that the more they loved, the more they have to suffer, because that's how you show love. And the people that are happy again are those who choose to love and honor your loved one through service, gratitude, and love. That message defined us.
I think God sent her to earth for a purpose.
You know how people say that you have to go through the pain to get like happy or something like that? I feel like if we didn't go through this, we wouldn't be as happy.
Fofi was special.
And I feel like we all have a piece of her. So we've learned how to embody hope for the people around us and show that it is possible to be happy again. That in fact, because we've experienced excruciating pain, we've also had the opportunity to feel the most amazing joy. And if we went through this and we can smile again, then everybody can, because they see that it is possible to go from hurt to hope. Oh. Okay, I'm back. Can you please put in the chat if you were able to see that? If you have any thoughts or feelings? Did somebody see the video? Okay. Okay. So from that video, I want to start by mentioning again that moment in which my life changed. And I hope that me sharing this will help change yours as well. And it's the part of the day after losing my daughter, I'm sitting on the bathroom, on the floor of the walk-in closet, and I am trying to stay away from other people and just trying to understand what's even happening. And the priest whom I loved, he was our pastor, and he was the face of God for me. He came and he sat down on the closet with us, in the closet with us, and he just held space for us. And my husband asked, "Is it possible to be happy again? Can we be happy again?" And he said, "Some people are and some people are not." And my husband asked, "What's the difference?" And the priest said that the people who are happy again are those who choose, keyword, choose, those who decide that they're going to love and honor their loved one through service, love, gratitude, not suffering. And in society, we have been taught the thing that comes to us naturally and easily, which is to suffer. And when we believe that the way we show our love toward the person we lost is through suffering, it's through tears, then we can't stop suffering. We can't stop grieving. But grief is the process, it's the journey to healing. Grief is not the destination. Grief is supposed to help us sit with that pain because the only way around pain is through. And if we sit with that pain and we share the lessons and the growth and we allow for everything to transform us from inside out, then we're going to heal. But when we decide unconsciously or consciously that we are going to grieve forever because that's the way we honor and love the person we lost, then we get stuck, and then we learn nothing and we find no purpose, and we dwell on hopelessness. And hope, I believe, is the best way to rise up from anything in life. And this is a good segue to share that although I'm going to talk about examples that relate specifically to losing a loved one to death, grief is something everybody in this world has felt, because grief is when we lose our jobs, when we lose our financial security, when we lose our health. We were just listening to somebody who lost her leg, a part of her body, and life as she knew it. When we lose a person to divorce, when we lose the presence of our child because he went away to college, grief is something we experience all the time when we lose something or someone that we had before, when we lose life as we knew it. So this faith method that I'm going to share today, which is also part of my book, Hurt the Number 2 Hope, that's the name of the book. This faith method is something that you can use to rise up from any adversity, not just grief. So if you've ever had a challenge in your life, if you've ever lost something or someone, this is for you. If you have any questions as I continue to chat, you're welcome to send them in the comments, and I would be happy to support you through it. I cannot look at the comments and do the presentation at the same time, but at some point I'll make sure to go over it and listen to it. So, faith. As I mentioned at the beginning of this journey, I am a woman of faith, and faith has been a great component in my journey. I have been doing clinical work for over 20 years. And no psychology, no doctorate in the world prepares you for excruciating pain like that of losing a child, a spouse, a parent, a sibling, or losing your life as you knew it, whatever that looks like for you. And in seeing so many clients who were attracted to me after seeing me rise, and in going back to my own journey, I tried to look for like what helped. If psychology had me on the floor like a deranged woman rocking back and forth wanting to take my head off, right? Like if psychology couldn't prevent me from that, then what can? And when I went back to my journey, I realized that faith was a big component of it. And I created this acronym that will help you understand what faith means, in addition to what you already know in terms of believing and trusting that there's a higher being than you, whose plans for you and the person you lost or the thing that you lost are better than yours. So the F in faith, it's an acronym. The F in faith stands for fertilizing pain. Pain or grief is like a fertilizer. What are fertilizers made of? Any guesses? Fertilizers are made of poop. And pain, like fertilizers, feel like crap. They stink like it. Nobody says like, "Oh, I'm in pain, I'm grieving, this is amazing." No, it stinks. It sucks. Just like fertilizers, try buying one and bringing it for your tree in the car. It's going to stink the entire car. But what do fertilizers do for our plants? They nourish them. They help them grow. They help them give fruit. Fertilizers, though they stink when you first use them, help the plant evolve and become what we want for what we want it to be, for so we can enjoy it and so that we can enjoy its fruits. And the same is true for us. Our grief, our pain are a fertilizer. They strengthen us. They make us more empathetic. So they make us a better human being. How you have no idea how many people I've heard say, now I understand what this person was going through that I didn't know how to support because I've gone through it myself. When you go through pain, when you go through grief, you see it in a totally different light. You're more compassionate with people, you're more merciful. You understand the importance of sitting and holding space for that person in a way that you couldn't have imagined had you not experienced it. So grief, like a fertilizer, helps you evolve, makes you better. It gives you the motivation to do hard things because you want to get rid of that fertilizing, stinking pain. So you're willing to do what it takes. You're willing to, like my dad would say, make violence in Spanish. I don't know how to translate it correctly because even in Spanish, it's not like a thing. He would say, make violence. What he meant was go against, be aggressive against your desire to stay in bed and be depressed and just cry yourself to death, right? What he was trying to say is use this to motivate you to do something greater and hard that you don't think you're capable of so you may overcome it. So pain is a fertilizer. It nourishes us. Pain is the path to healing. If we think of grief as the destination, we're screwed. We're going to get stuck in it. But grief or pain as the path to healing brings hope. And hope is what helps you try one more thing, one more time. Get out of bed. Believe that maybe tomorrow is going to be a better day. Hope is what keeps us alive. Hope is responsible for everything, you guys. If you think about it, why do you get in your car to drive to work? It's because you hope the car will turn on. Why do you hope to, why do you turn on the light, like the switch? It's because you hope it'll turn on the light. Well, hope is going to help you try one more time and breathe one more time and say yes to life without that person or that thing that you have lost. Hope is where we want to live. And hope can exist simultaneously with pain because pain is inevitable, but pain is hope. Because pain is the healer, the journey. But suffering, my dear friends, that is optional. And suffering is the darkness of pain without hope, is getting stuck on the pain, on it's deciding that this is it for the rest of our lives. We can never be happy again. We will never be able to overcome this. If you are living in hopelessness, you're living in darkness. You're living in suffering. You're stuck in grief. You're not using grief as the path and the journey. You're using it as the destination. Another way in which we oftentimes engage with suffering is by avoiding pain. So if you escape it, if you think out of sight, out of mind, I'm not going to think about it. Don't talk to me about it. Don't look at the pictures. Don't look at the, if you escape pain because it doesn't feel good and you have to be strong, because we have this idea that we have to be strong, whatever that means, but strength includes feeling the pain and sitting with it. When you decide you're going to escape pain, what happens is, like, imagine pain as a seed. Continuing the analogies with plants, if pain is a seed and it falls in the ground of your life, when it falls in there, if you look at it, you grab it from the ground, you sit with it, you hold it, right? Like that would be feeling the pain. Then you're able to be like, recognize it, look at it, okay, all done, I don't need it anymore, and you can move forward. But if you ignore it and you know that it fell on the ground, but you're like, not even going to look at that. I'm not going to look at the pain. I'm not going to pay attention. I'm going to continue life like nothing happened. Out of sight, out of mind. We're good. What happens is that with the elements, that seed, with the water and the wind and the weather, like that seed is going to like go deeper into the ground, and it's going to bury itself. And then it's going to be covered. And when you look for it, you're not going to see it. You're going to be like, oh, it left. I knew it. I succeeded. But it's there. And the problem is that it's creating roots. So inside your heart is hardening, because when it hardens for one, it hardens for all. It's hardening. It's creating like triggers and pains and unresolved pains and griefs. And before you know it, you start seeing some weeds that come through the ground, and you're like, where did that come from? Why am I suddenly having these panic attacks? Why am I so angry and bitter? Why can't I trust anybody? Why am I always worried about something happening to someone? Why am I having all these symptoms or weeds? Well, it's because there was the seed of pain that you didn't resolve. There was that thing that you didn't allow yourself to experience and sit with and heal. And then when another grief comes up or another loss comes up, you that seed becomes powerful, and it defines every reaction you have towards this grief. And then it deepens. Just like the seed became buried deeply into the ground, grief deepens, and it's harder to overcome because now it's not as accessible as it was when it was just a seed. So, the whole point of this analogy is to understand that if you sit with your pain and you understand and remind yourself, it's hard, guys, it's hard because the pain is real. It's you feel it in your bones. It's excruciating. It's all you can see. Pain is suffering, I should say. Suffering is all consuming. It's self-centered. It's all that exists when you're experiencing it. So it's hard to remember this, and that's why having the support to be reminded of it, or just journaling and remember these words today so that you can come back to it and remind yourself. When you are in pain, if you can remember that you are in pain right that moment, right this moment, and you get to feel it, and yet you get to cry about it or be angry about it or fight with God about it. By the way, I encourage you to fight with God, but don't stop talking to him. Please, like, fight with him. Insult him, question him, whatever you need, but talk to him, stay with him. Even fighting with God is a form of prayer, but don't run away from him, because you don't have the strength to do this alone. It's too hard, but there's someone who does, And if you stay with God, even if it's fighting with Him, He will give you the strength, because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I'm not sure about your beliefs, so please excuse me if you don't share my Christian beliefs. I you can substitute it by whatever you believe in, right? Like the universe. The universe is rigged in your favor, and it's there for you to support you. What just please substitute God with whatever you believe in, and know that I don't mean to be disrespectful of your faith or your beliefs for that matter. So when you view pain as a fertilizer, you embrace it and you sit with it and you don't avoid it, and you understand that it's supposed to hurt right now. But the more I allow myself to sit with it, the less I will have to sit with it in the future. The more you grieve today, the less you'll grieve tomorrow. The more you grieve today, the sooner you'll get to your healing and peace and joy. Because pain and grief, my dear friends, is the path, not the destination. So view pain with hope, the hope that it's only taking you, that you're already advancing. You are, if you're feeling pain, you're advancing in your healing journey. So that's the F in faith. It's fertilizing pain and understanding that pain is hope, because it's the journey to healing. Suffering is not, and we get to decide and discern that we're going to sit with pain, but we're not going to dwell on it and we're not going to escape it. The A in faith stands for acceptance. So the 5 stages of grief, according to Dr. Kubler-Ross, say that the last stage of grief is acceptance. I love her. I love Kubler-Ross, but I lovingly disagree with that. And that is because I think acceptance is the first stage of healing, not the last stage of grief. So, right after allowing yourself to feel the pain, and by the way, this is not a linear process because we're human beings. So, you'll come back to the pain and back to acceptance and back to all these stages. They're not in order, but to be able to explain them to you, I'll share an order. A is acceptance. And what that means is we don't have to wait till we go through guilt and anger and sadness and depression and this and that so that we can arrive at one day at acceptance. We have the power to proactively pursue acceptance. And what that means is that we, every day, when we catch ourselves thinking, I can't believe this is happening. This can't be. It wasn't supposed to be this way. Like I was supposed to die first. She was supposed to bury me. My daughter was supposed to bury me. She was so young. How she was healthy. How could this happen? Like we have all these ideas as to how life is supposed to be. But life simply is. And a lot of things are unfair. Yes, they're unfair. They are unfair. And I wish I had an answer as to why bad things, really painful things happen to really great people. I don't have that answer. And if I claim to do, I think it'd be arrogant of my of my part to do so. But I believe that God's plans for you and for me are better than our own. And I believe that everything has to have a purpose, because we're promised that whatever whatever we experience is meant for our good. I don't know how to say this this scripture in English. My first language is Spanish, but there's a scripture that says that everything operates for the well-being of those who love Him. Right? Like I'm not sure if I'm translating it correctly, but we are promised that whatever we go through is meant to elevate us, to make us better, to bring us closer to our truth, our greatness, our joy. We were created for joy, for love. So if God allows for us to go through something, I have to believe that He has a bigger, better plan, even if I didn't understand it at the moment. And I remember listening to this song that said, "I will trust you." And I would go to work, and on my way to work in the car, I'd be like bawling and like, how can you do this? What were you thinking? What was in your mind? This is ridiculous. This wasn't the way. Like, and I would fight with God and question Him and be like, you're crazy. You're crazy. Why are you doing this? And then I would be, but I will trust you. And that was hope, right? There was my humanity accompanied with hope. The hope that soon, one day, I'd see the light of why this was meant to be. And my dear friends, you know why I had to go through my pain? It's to be here with you. It's to be able to support you. It's to be the embodiment of hope, not just someone who talks about it. I am the happiest woman on earth. The happiest woman on earth. And I no longer miss my daughter. You know why? Because she's with me every day. I've understood that love transcends death. And I love my daughter deeply. And how I honor and love her and keep her memory alive is by being here with you. It's by sharing my story and my hope with you. And and now you know about my daughter. Whereas a lot of other people don't, couldn't meet her in person. Now you can meet her spiritually too. And keeping her memory alive makes me so happy. So acceptance is what I did to begin my journey of healing. When I realized that I was spending most of my energy and was using most of my pain to resist reality by telling myself things like she was supposed to bury me and it wasn't supposed to be this way, and how could this happen? She was real. I'm looking at the pictures, I'm looking at the videos. She was real. I'm not crazy. The moment I realized this is my daughter is now in heaven, and I'm still breathing even though I didn't want to. And I get to live with her spiritually but without her physically. The moment I started telling myself, I fully accept this moment and this reality exactly the way that it is. I I understand that my daughter is not here physically with me. I understand that this is painful. I am feeling all these things. I am angry. I am sad. I feel guilty. I like whenever sat with my emotions and I acknowledged them and I said it out loud, and I literally said, I fully accept this moment and this life and this grief exactly the way that it is. I started letting go of resistance that was taking up a lot of energy and was draining me. When we're grieving, we are not operating at our 100%, and that's okay. We're drained. We're hurt. We don't have the same strength. So the little strength we have, if we use it to resist reality, to resist what is, to fight with what was. And time I checked, nobody has ever won against reality. You cannot win your battle against reality. It's not going to change. Those thoughts, which are normal, natural, and necessary, by the way, like we need to go through denial and pain and all those thoughts so that we can then come to a place where we're ready to pursue acceptance. So if you're there and you need to stick around for a little while, know that that's necessary, because what denial and unacceptance does is it prepares our psyche, psychologically speaking, for the acceptance of reality. Like if we had to accept it, if we didn't have that period of disbelief and shock, we would all go crazy, because there are things in life that you can't process immediately. You need some time of unacceptance, of denial, to be able to get to it. So feeling the pain helps you become ready to then pursue proactively acceptance. So essentially, acceptance in faith is accepting what is as is, and acknowledging it doesn't mean you need to like it or wanted, but just this is what it is, because then the pain and the suffering from that resistance of reality that you can't change will dissipate. And the little energy you have left will be used towards your healing. That's why radical acceptance is a gift. And if you're a person of faith, just pray for acceptance. In addition to telling yourself the affirmation of I fully accept this, pray for it. The I in faith is interpretation. In psychology, my favorite concept is reframing. Reframing is when you change the perspective with which you're looking at something. So I believe, and a lot of people, a lot of my ancestors believe, that life is an interpretation. What we think is true is really our interpretation of that situation. So, for example, to give you an example of how this, I know this to be true, if you think of you're going on a trip and the flight gets canceled, is that a positive thing or a bad thing? A lot of people would say that's a negative thing, it's a bad thing. Well, I think it's neutral. Because if I am going on that trip to my daughter's graduation and that trip is the only one I can take to make it there on time, it's going to be excruciating for me to lose that flight and it's going to be the worst thing that ever happened to me. But if I'm going on that trip on a work event that I really don't want to go to, and I am going to miss my little daughter's first recital, I am going to be very happy when they cancel that trip and I can call my boss and tell her, like, sorry, I can't go. And I'm going to run to my daughter's recital and I am going to be the happiest woman on earth. So the flight being canceled is neutral. It was positive for me if I was going to go on this trip for work and I didn't want to go on it. It was negative for me if I was going to miss my son's graduation, my daughter's graduation because of it. The same is true for traffic. Some people hate traffic. Other people feel traffic is the only time they get to catch up, make a phone call, listen to a podcast, and they appreciate the time of solitude and stillness that traffic allows for them to have. So death, like traffic and a flight being canceled, is neutral. My two grandparents passed away a couple of years ago. When the first one passed away, it was excruciating because we didn't expect it. It was sudden. He was full of life. He was healthy. Like it was so sad. It happened overnight from one day to the other, and then that's it. He was gone. So we weren't ready for it, and it was hard. And then a couple months later, my other grandfather passed away, and I would venture to say that I was a little closer to the second one. And when I found that, I was like, oh, thank you, God. Thank you, because he was suffering so much and he was very ill and he was already in a place where it was sad. It was sad to see him suffer. Death of a grandparent was painful, negative first, and then for the one that I was closest to, it was a good thing. Why? Because it's the meaning we give to that situation. So yeah, Betsy, I can reframe or change the perspective with which I'm looking at traffic. Okay, I can change that. And I can change the perspective with which I'm looking at the flight being canceled. But how do you reframe losing your daughter? How do you reframe losing your spouse, the person you've been with your entire life? How do you reframe losing your marriage to divorce? Reframe that, Betsy. Show me. When I first lost my daughter, I was, in my interpretation, the grieving mom of a toddler who lost a daughter, who couldn't keep her alive, her only responsibility as a parent. I was a griever and I carried myself around like such. And I was sad and defeated and defined by my grief and my loss. And when I chose that I would be happy again because that priest gave me hope, and I thought it was possible, and I trusted that God was going to give me the strength to carry on and get there, the directions, the guidance. When I made that decision, eventually, these are decisions that don't happen overnight. It's like losing weight, right? Like you decide you're going to lose 10 pounds and you go work out for 3 hours and eat fish and salad. You go and look at yourself in the mirror and you look the same after those 3 hours of killing yourself. Well, the same is true with this. These decisions take time and you have to make them daily. You have to make that decision of working out and eating healthy daily. You have to make that decision of getting out of bed daily. You have to make the decision of showing up for your kids who remain, if you have any, or showing up to work if you have a purpose and gifts to share with the world. You get to decide that daily. You get to decide that you're going to smile today, that you're going to cry 3 minutes less than yesterday. It's a decision that you make daily, and it takes time. But when you decide that, you can choose that you're no longer going to be the grieving mom of a daughter, that you're going to be the chosen mother of an angel. You are the chosen one. You are the one that God entrusted so much with this beautiful saint creature that he allowed you to take care of, to breastfeed, to nurture, to put to sleep, to love, to care for, to kiss, to bathe. You were the lucky one, entrusted and chosen to be the mother of this angel. And now you get to keep her memory alive and share your hope with the world and continue to love her as if she were still here. My love is greater than the love I have for anybody else, for my daughter, because my daughter doesn't do anything cute for me to like her. She doesn't do like the cute Christmas shows and get like all straight A's and succeeds as a doctor and has all these accomplishments that make us feel or give us, give me like the kisses and the hugs and the love and the attention and the help and the support that our kids can give us, which makes us feel more in love with them. My daughter doesn't do any of that for me anymore. She's not here. But I love her so much all the time because love transcends death. You can continue to love the person you lost. You can continue to find purpose in this pain that you're in. Love transcends everything. So, I in interpretation means we get to decide, are we going to define ourselves by our grief and our pain and what we lost? Or are we going to define ourselves by how we rise up and how we use that pain to earn wisdom that can help us be a gift to other people in the future, that can help us guide others through their journey when they're going through something similar? Interpretation means we get to reframe and we get to look at everything from a different standpoint, a standpoint that serves you and helps you heal. The T in faith stands for team. They say that the people we surround ourselves by, we become more like. And I have proven that to be true. Like I have tested that with myself, with my clients at work, everywhere. If you go to the army, it's just a matter of time before you start saying, "Sir, yes, sir," and "I'll see you at 1300 instead of 1 o'clock." The people you surround yourself by, you become more like. So if you're grieving and you're looking for support, surround yourself by people who are aligned with your values, aligned with your desire to rise above this. People who have gone through it or something similar. It doesn't have to be grief what they've gone through. It could be, maybe it's not the loss of a loved one. Maybe it's, the loss of their health. They've gone through cancer. They've gone through other things in life, divorce. Like, what people do you admire who have rose up, who have risen up, right? Like who do you know who has gracefully overcome the unexplainable challenges that they've experienced and unbearable situations that they've gone through? Hang out with those people. Talk to those people. Ask them for hope. Ask them for guidance. What worked for them? Listen to them. You're doing that right now. I'm part of your team. The Global Grief Conference is part of your team. And you have decided to add us to your team. And that's what finding the team that's going to allow you to heal is all about. You choose people who are a step ahead or who share in your values and are going to guide you in the direction that you want. Let me share something that I think is not too talked about and I believe is very relevant for you. When you go through grief, you tend to want to relate and share in with people who understand you because grief can be very lonely. And if the person you lost was your person to share your emotions with, it can be even more lonely. So when I first started in this journey, I went to a support group for parents who had lost their child, and they asked me to go speak. It must have been within a year. And I was there, and I remember like trying to speak hope, even though I was still in the raw, right? And there was a lot of resistance. People were well, I don't agree with that, and I don't think God should have allowed this. And I and I understood where they were coming from, because we're all in a different part of our journey, and that's okay. But I remember after I was done with my speech, we were sitting in a circle, and we went around, and this is something they did every day, every time they met, saying like who we lost and how we lost that person. So one person would say like, I lost my son 10 years ago to suicide, and it wasn't until 7 years after his passing that I was able to go into his room again. And then another one said like, I lost my 20 something year old to like because he choked on a piece of meat in a restaurant. And I've it's been 7 years, and I've never been able to overcome it, and I feel today the way I felt the day after it happened. And I kept on hearing all these people who had been, had lost their loved one for way longer than me, and they were grieving like like in the middle of the grief, like I could feel the darkness and the pain. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, is this what awaits? Is this what's gonna happen to me? Am I gonna be in this space in 10 years? And I remember thinking like, man, they robbed me of hope instead of giving me some. All I had was relatability. Oh, I understand what you're going through, because I'm going through it too. But I had no hope when I left there. And I remember the last person said, you know, we just have to understand and accept that this, we're part of a club we never chose to be a part of. And this is it for us. And I remember inside wanting to scream, and like inside I stood up. I didn't do it physically because it wasn't appropriate, but inside I stood up, and I am not going to be part of that club. I am not going to be the person who defines herself by her grief. I am not going to be a part of a club I don't choose to be a part of. And that's when I decided that I was going to be part of a club of the chosen parents of angels who are VIP in heaven, because now they have a hookup in heaven. And I imagine my daughter going to Jesus and, grabbing him by his cloth, and being like, you know, can you hook up my mommy? She needs a little help with this. And Jesus being like, you're so cute. Oh my goodness. Of course, I'm going to do whatever you want for you. And I would have all these images. Are they stories I tell myself? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I know if they're true for real? Of course not. But since life is the story you tell yourself anyway, it's the interpretation you have of what happens to you. I'm going to choose a story that's going to create emotions and a life of purpose and significance that's going to allow me to make this world better, and that's going to enable me to elevate humanity and to be the face of God for other people who may not have hope. So beware. If you are choosing to go to a therapist, a coach, a support group, read books, engage in social media pages that are going to rob you of your hope, stop engaging unless you want to suffer. Unless suffering is your destiny and it's a choice, a conscious, mindful choice that you're making, then that's up to you. But if you are choosing hope, if you're choosing to go on a journey from hurt to hope, then find people who believe in hope. Find people who have risen. Find people who are aligned with your values. Find people who you admire. And they don't have to be people that you know, they don't have to be family members. They can be virtual people like me right now. They can be people that you listen to their books or their podcasts. They can be people who have died and wrote a book and left a legacy. I have a lot of I have a lot of mentors who have no idea they're my mentors, and and even God through His teachings, like Bible and everything that I know about my Lord. Those things help me understand what He like help guide me. I live a guided life. And when you are lost, having your GPS guide you whether that's God or the universe or someone you love, or even the loved one you lost, right? Like if you want to connect spiritually with that person, ask them, like, what would you want me to do right now? Like, I know people who have lost their parents go through this a lot. I always listen to them. I have an online program through which I accompany people from hurt to hope. It's called my book, Hurt, the number 2, Hope. Hurt2hope.com if you want to learn more about it. And in my program, I've had people who have lost a parent say, like, like, I just wish I could call my mom and ask her, what should I do with this, mom? What advice do you have for me? I wish I could call my dad and ask him, what car should I buy? And I always tell them, like, have a moment with them. Close your eyes and ask yourself, what would my dad tell me? What would my mom tell me? And oftentimes, because those people live this life of legacy and love, and that's why you're suffering so much. They Because they were present in your life, oftentimes you can imagine what they would have said. So if you have that moment, not only do you connect with the spiritual presence of that loved one, but you also get the answer you need. And it's beautiful to see how so many people, oh yeah, my mom would have said this and my dad would have said that, and I always think, like, what a gift those parents gave them, and it inspires me to be a better parent, so that I can also give my children the lessons, the gifts, the legacy that will carry on beyond my earthly life. So team up with people who inspire you. I invite you to accompany me on social media. I'm always trying to put out content that will support you. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Better with Betsy. So Better with Betsy. Let me write it on the comments. I'm not sure I can write it in the comments. Okay, so Better with Betsy. Betsy's, you spell it like that, on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that has a lot of videos that may be helpful. So if I can support you with that, I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to be part of your team. Lastly, the H in faith stands for habits. We all know that habits are behaviors or thoughts or ideas that we engage in repeatedly and consistently. And if we engage in healthy habits that help our body, our brains, our mood, our emotions, that serves them, right? Like it helps us heal, then we can do less work. And here's a little secret about knowing a little bit about the brain. In the brain, there's a different part called the basal ganglia where habits take place. So habits operate out of the basal ganglia. And then there's the prefrontal cortex, which is where all the executive functions of the brain live, such as decision making, thinking, processing, analyzing. So, all those things that are really hard when you have a grief brain are, if you have the right habits in place, then those will take over and will make up for what you're lacking in your prefrontal cortex. So, to explain that more clearly, if everything is a blur, if everything is foggy, if you don't feel like waking up, getting out of bed, or you can't stop crying, and you can't think, you cannot reframe. Reframing is something that is hard to do at the beginning. When you are in that process because your prefrontal cortex doesn't have enough energy, strength, and oxygen to support you, neurologically speaking, then the basal ganglia, which holds all your habits, will be the one operating the most, right? Like you'll be doing everything like in cruise control. And what comes in cruise control when you're grieving is sadness, depression, not wanting to do anything, not wanting to get out of bed. But if you work on having healthy habits, such as you go for a walk, if you're not an exercise person, walk, move your body. It doesn't have to be like hardcore exercise. Move your body. When you move your body, you're releasing feel good hormones. You're releasing neurotransmitters that send messages to your body, endorphins that tell your body, like, hey, we're good. We're feeling good, we're strong. And that message tells your brain, oh wait, I'm feeling good, then I'm better today. Then I'm okay. right? Like, so it affects both ways. One affects the other one, and the other one responds to that. So then it affects the interpretation, or the, the basal ganglia, the habit affects the body, and then it also helps the prefrontal cortex, which is the thought of, I can feel better, I can heal, I can breathe. Like the thinking process, which is part of the prefrontal cortex, it'll help it become a healthier one. And the cool thing, it's like a total cycle. The cool thing is that when you start having those thoughts, the more you have them, the more habitual and automated they become. So once those thoughts of positivity and hope, and I got this, and today was a rough day and it's hard, but I know I'm going to overcome this, then that becomes a habit. And when the positive hopeful thoughts become a habit, you don't have to think about them anymore. You don't have to work so hard. So there are a lot of habits that I encourage you to engage in. One of them is moving your body and having or exercising. Another one is eating foods that make you that nurture you, right? Like when we're in pain, when we're anxious, when we're upset, we tend to look for comfort food. And there's a way nowadays within the internet of creating comfort foods with healthy options, right? So search for healthy options that won't make you feel bloated, like nauseous, that like won't make you look in a way that then you feel subconscious about how you I mean self-conscious about how you look, or now you're not just grieving, but now you feel fat and you don't want to leave the house, and you don't feel good about yourself, and I've been binge eating, and what kind of person, and you start judging yourself and hurting yourself further, right? So eating good foods is not just to nurture your body and nourish it, but also to nurture your mind and your ability to feel good. And and nutrition helps the system work in a way that it functions well, right? Because if you're grieving and then you get sick too, the two get combined and they create an explosion of a tragic explosion of pain, and it just further deepens everything. So meditating or praying. I spend time in stillness, solitude, and silence every day of my life, and so should you. That is the way I listen to God or the universe or my enlightenment, and it's what guides me through the decisions that may be hard, that require discernment. Prayer, surrounding yourself with the right people, meditating, healthy eating, exercising, journaling. Journaling is free therapy, guys. That's a really good habit to engage in. When you're doing all those affirmations, positive affirmations, telling yourself, I fully accept this moment exactly the way that it is, you're creating a habit. You're creating a repetition and automation. That's a habit. That's something that's going to serve you. So, what happens is when you engage in habits that protect you and serve you, you can use all your energy to heal your pain because you have all these other tools and resources that you're implementing, protecting you and looking out for you. They're helping you, they're enabling you to heal. So that's faith for you, fertilizing pain, acceptance, interpretation with reframing, team, and habits. If you want to share this information with someone you love, or you want a refresher to have with you, you can go to, it's free. It's a gift from me to you. You can go to hope.com. Hurt2hope.com/faith. You have to do /faith. So hurt2hope.com is my program where I accompany you in the journey, and I help you discern, and I support you wholeheartedly, and I hold space for you, and I help you transform your life. If you want to learn about that, you can go to hurt2hope.com. But if you just want to learn about the faith, or you want to share it with someone you love, or in the future, someone who's going through what you're going through, you want to share this information, go to hurt2hope.com/faith. And if there's any question or anything I can help you with, we have 3 minutes. I'd be delighted to support you. Let me go back to see if there's something from the beginning. Hi, thank you for your comments, guys. Okay. Okay, so if we have no questions, I am all yours on social media, and I'd be happy to support you further there, or you can go to my website and learn more about what I have to offer. And my personal website is betterwithbetsy.com. My program and the grief programs are in hope.com. It's okay to still have days now and then. Absolutely. I it's been almost 9 years for me, and I have moments, absolutely. But my moments are never as intense and enduring as they were. And that's how I know I've healed. So there are moments in which I have a thought, like I went to a Christmas show, and my daughter would have been in fourth grade, and when they did their presentation, I was like, it dawned on me that she would have been there. So I had a moment there, and I started thinking like what she would look like, and if she would be shy or she would be the best singer in the show, and I started crying, and I was sad, and then that lasted a couple of minutes, and then I reminded myself that I could still have her. Maybe not in that Christmas show, but I still got to have a relationship with her and continue to show her my love with everything I did. Hi, Melissa. I hear you. I hear you. Um, your mom, there's something called anticipatory grief. And because you know you're going to lose that person because of the prognosis, you start the journey early on. But my recommendation is for you to stay present and enjoy her and take pictures. Take pictures. Take pictures of your hand holding her hand. Take pictures of you caressing her head. Like, stay with something that you can be reminded at even this moment allowed you to be there for your mom and accompany her, and one day you're going to have that memory to be able to hold on to and have peace that you were there when she needed you. I'm sorry you're going through this. The toxic positivity, that's really good. When you have to feel the pain to be able to reframe. The reason it's reframe is because it's like changing the frame of an art piece. It's reframe. It was framed before. It was framed with grief, with pain, with negativity, with hopelessness. We reframe it. So, yes, definitely, you have to feel the pain to be able to overcome it. I know it's 12:01 and I want to be respectful of people's time, but please, if there's something I can help you with, go to my website, my Instagram, Better with Betsy, and I'll happily respond. Thank you for your time. I send you all a big hug and lots of peace.